You got something on the agenda?
Colors.
Hi.
Because I will start out by address, my name, my accountant.
People fly back from Florida like today or something. The third person, they came back from Florida today.
Is that right?
Yeah.
55 reps.
I was going to say, yeah.
So I have to go. But now I'm just truly my I am. I have a place to stay. Two of my friends have places to stay. It's like a place.
We tried to take that check in a couple times.
Next week,
Weird, I don't know. It's like the slot is bigger than the check. I didn't know like it was something else. What high school?
No, like trip canceled. Yeah, I got canceled. Like now I'm just excited. Like now I'm like, stop it out. Tomorrow's the day's gonna go down. Tuesday's the day. Yeah.
They have like certain options, they guesstimate when the tickets will go up or down.
Oh, I have that. Yeah, but now I'm like, and I never wait this long to book. Like, it's not me. It's very clear. You know how one day this and then the next day.
No, they don't go there.
No.
Okay, so it's please.
Yeah.
We're talking about going down to,
I swear, you should look now.
well, when we start looking, so, Katie's,
Eyes on
Is he doing the train?
no, he went to the boat cabin. For example,
I want to do that. Now, can he get you a deal? Yeah.
Let them watch the live stream.
and for the mortgage of my house, it's
Red through it's like on radio, it's hot.
And then I'm kind of like, I'm like, yeah, that was 50. It was 50. But he goes, you're making like that. And then I'm the mom. And I'm like, we're bringing the DoorDash. And I have lunch. You can have, no, and God forbid if you didn't have like all the like rides set out. I'm like, oh, you just all of a sudden like, it's thing, you know? Oh, they are. She was in projects too. No, you didn't.
We'll start in about 30 seconds.
Now,
You.
All right, Ben, you ready? You're good. I now call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting on March 7th, 2022. Time is 7 p.m. Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member McLeaster?
Present.
Member Wyrick?
Here.
Member Warren?
Here.
Member Volt?
Here.
Member Shroya?
Here.
Member Matheny?
Here.
Member Orr?
Here.
7 present.
All right, let's start off with community and economic development.
Okay, what we'd like to do is send to the Planning Commission a recommendation that we amend the Main Street North Gateway District to permit as an accessory use on a conditional use basis gasoline station. And this is to support a forthcoming project, which is well underway. Does the administration have anything to add?
I think you had referenced that there was a size land restriction as well applied to that. I think it was like 5 acres or something.
I do not,
That is correct.
Yes.
yes,
Must be a retail use on 5.
on 5 acres, yes. Apologize. Jamie, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Does any of the council have anything? We're gonna send this to the Planning Commission.
Sending this to the planning commission or sending this to council?
We're sending it to the Planning Commission, because we're gonna amend the Main Street Gateway, Main Street North Gateway legislation. So, it'll run through the process.
Any other comments
Is
or
there-
questions?
I'll make a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there's notes that we want to postpone this until the Planning Commission has made that recommendation. We don't want to do anything until it has done that. So we'll get it kind of back into the natural order of things.
Do I need to make a motion?
I will make that motion, and I'll take a second.
Stroya seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, off to the Planning Commission it goes with a unanimous recommendation. The other item that we have is we need to set a public hearing for the zoning of parcel 100, 10198. This is the parcel that sits above Washington Square. Is that parcel that has been undeveloped for well over 20 years. The Planning Commission had a meeting and made a favorable recommendation to us. There were some conditions, which we won't have to get into at this moment. But we'd like to set that public hearing for April 11th at 6:45. Jamie, do you have anything to add?
No, I do not.
Council? Then I'll make that motion that we set that public hearing for April 11th at 6:45 to consider the rezoning from, and I should note that this is from office building to general business.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I believe that there's a temporary placement on the calendar for the Charter Review Advisory Commission that night at 5 p.m. in this room.
There is, based on our first meeting, we will be done by then. If not, we are permitted to start late, we're just not permitted to start early.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, so we have a vote on that. All in favor?
You still need a
I think
second.
you second and I'll second.
Destroy a second.
Oh.
Yeah.
I missed it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. And then what we'd like to do is motion and a second to move this out of committee. Correct?
But not have the first reading till after the,
But not have the first reading until after the
Stroya
public
moves.
hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
All right, moving on to finance and property, Stephanie.
Okay, we have two, not, I have my glasses, so I'm having trouble reading. We have two different pieces of equipment. We're going to be buying the asphalt paver equipment, which is roughly $285,000, and then the valve turning truck, which is about $181,000. And we talked about them during the budget, but now I guess we're putting them in, right?
Yes, we did a request for quotes for financing from banks. We had three respond. And so we would like to award the capital leases for both pieces of equipment to Huntington Capital Corp.
And was it 2.3, 2.2%?
Well, for the asphalt paving equipment, it was 2.54%.
Okay.
That's the lowest, and valve turning truck was 2.32%.
Okay. How many quotes do we actually put out to different banks? Or I guess how many then respond?
We sent it to 4 who asked to be included, and 3 responded.
Okay. Okay, any other questions?
We leasing this for the full purchase price?
Yes.
I'll move to put that on the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to ordinance and rules. John?
All right, we've got an ordinance here. I guess we were known as the Dogwood City, and we changed that probably, Pat, how many years ago?
Yeah, it's interesting, member Orr, we did some checking around and, with council clerk, and, I'm gonna say, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, that
Just after the 2012 master plan, it was taken off everything, but never taken out of the codified ordinance.
yeah, so it was council's intent to do so, but it just somehow never got around to getting that into the codified ordinances.
So all of the placards or whatever on the cars and trucks have already been changed and stuff?
Yes, sir.
So we need to, I guess, get with the times and bring it on.
Can we have a representation in our packets?
Yeah, from the Dogwood to the NC type thing, it's in the package.
Yeah, the orange
Can I ask a
NC.
technical question?
Yes, sir.
Hang on a second, I'm looking for that.
And while you're looking for that, to member Orr, that, you know, we largely did that for all the marketing materials already and
Yeah.
stuff that's on the trucks and whatnot. But, you know, like when you do an official document, you have a seal, so this would be that step. That's, I think, the last piece that we have to do.
Yeah,
There's one right on, it's right here in the front.
yeah, well, I was just gonna hold it up for the students because,
So they can see it, it's right here.
Right here.
but it doesn't say what it should say.
Yeah.
What does it say?
It should say NC beat Jackson. Right? Go right.
Foul.
Well, I won't get out of here alive tonight.
Did you know they're all Jackson students?
I did.
Seems like some people were a little late on getting their assignment done. I know.
We're rooting for your girls.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I told her we'd be quick today.
Could we do an emergency, bring that up as an emergency? We've been using it for, 10+ years now. Do we need to drag it out any longer and then at the meeting next week?
And I'm not sure an emergency would be justified.
Okay, just checking.
So you need a motion to place it on the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. John, 5C?
5C is,
B.
or 5B.
Oh, 5B, I'm sorry.
Very similar thing, correct? Ben? All three were.
Kind of, so the next two are linked. The permits department and administration, from my understanding, we're looking at the business code. And first they took a look at chapter 701 and it was kind of like, well, we're not issuing any licenses, why is this in here?
Right.
And then doing a deeper dive into the code, the only thing left that is applicable under the general licensing provisions is chapter 709, commercial amusements, which we are not currently enforcing, and I don't think, at least my understanding is we don't have an interest to enforce requiring a license for things like musicals or minstrel shows or festivals.
When was the last license ever issued,
This
or permit?
When minstrel was used.
When
in
minstrel
regular-
Yeah.
When North Canton was
Minstrel
Berlin.
Fest.
Yeah. I mean, this should have been changed years ago. I'll make a motion.
Revolt will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. John, 5C.
5C is an ordinance replacing 709B, that commercial amusements of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton. So, again, that's with minstrels and that type of wording and stuff, so we need to have that changed as well. I thought maybe those could be combined, but we'll just go ahead and keep it the way it is. So I'll make a motion that you have anything to add?
I do not. You're looking for a second?
Yeah, I'm looking for a second.
Then Revolt, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to personnel and safety. David.
Okay, so Chief Kemp has approached us with the idea of changing some staffing. So not adding to staffing, but changing the staffing. So currently we have 5 sergeants, and one of them is a swing shift sergeant. So that individual has in some weeks worked all 3 shifts. It's making scheduling very difficult. That also individual never gets a weekend off. So the enticement, he gets one a month. One a month, okay. Seems like never. So it's been very difficult for him to fill this staffing. And I'm gonna let Chief Kemp get into a little bit more detail here. But the important thing to remember is that they will be reducing some overtime. The cost to bring this person on board is not going to be that great when you consider the cost of no one wanting to take the swing shift position. They're better off, and the feelings is staying on a first shift or a second shift and not being stuck in that. So this is allowing Chief Kemp an opportunity to manage the department, to get the coverage that we need and provide the coverage within the city better. So if you'd like to elaborate on that, what you want to do here, and explain to the rest of the members how this staffing change without adding additional people is going to work.
Okay. I guess what I'm looking at is the idea of flexibility, wellness factor, and future-proofing the department's supervision structure.
Can you speak louder?
Yeah, you can't hear.
Okay, I will try. I apologize if I tend to be soft-spoken because when I speak softly, people stop yelling at me because they want to listen to what I have to say. So I will try to scoot in closer to the microphone. What I'm looking at is flexibility in staffing, consistency in supervision, wellness factor, and future-proofing the department. An additional sergeant position brings with it a flexibility that a sergeant is capable of doing the job of a patrol officer. In addition, a sergeant is able to step into the dispatch room and provide supervision to the dispatch room on afternoons and on nights as needed. By adding an additional sergeant position, I would be looking at changing my scheduling structure for the sergeants to put 2 sergeants on each shift and to stagger the sergeants in such a way that they each are scheduled every other weekend off. As we've experienced some of the challenges that we've been through with COVID, when we end up with a supervisor off, we have a preference written into our contracts that that position is filled by overtime of the other supervisors, which could be either a sergeant on overtime or it could be a lieutenant filling the position of a sergeant on overtime because of that preference. When they don't fill it, we have a officer in charge, but the officer in charge does not necessarily have the same supervision training that we send our sergeants through. Do you have any questions related to that?
What do the other sergeants think of this?
There's a little bit of mixed opinions because we're set to have a meet, if it's going to be put on the council for consideration for vote, I plan to have a meeting with the sergeants so we can further discuss it I know there's some reservations because, as was indicated, it could possibly reduce some overtime costs. As sergeants look at their paycheck and the diminishing paychecks because of the economic situation that's happening to everybody, they don't necessarily want to lose the overtime. But they also like to have their time off, so you can't have both. And with having 2 sergeants on each shift, currently day shift is the only shift that is set up as such. I have a shift supervisor that runs the shift, and I have my administrative sergeant who handles a lot of the tasks related to IT support, supporting the communications center, and what they do. He actually oversees the communications center by structure of the department, with the day shift sergeant in the administrative spot. What I'm looking at is, by having 2 sergeants on the other 2 shifts, I would additionally task those additional sergeants with becoming more familiar with public records, policy procedure. That way on afternoons and on nights, I have somebody there that has a public records strength as one of their backgrounds. That would allow me to have 3 days a week where I have 2 sergeants scheduled. Many times, as we are approaching the summer and the weather starts turning nice, the officers enjoy the luxury of coming in and going, we have minimum staffing, or we are above minimum staffing. I am able to request my supervisor let me go home so I can go enjoy the sunshine. If I have 2 sergeants on, one of the sergeants has that chance of going home, and I'm not having to fill that position with overtime. So they get to use their vacation time, so there is that benefit with it. The other thing is, I had spoken to future-proofing it. The last 3 exams that we've given, I've had no more than 3 people sign up and express interest in that position. Because what happens is, as they come up through the ranks, we provide them with training and have great candidates available to be supervisors. They get to a shift of preference, or they get to the every other weekend off, so they get to have their family time. That is not a luxury that 3 of the 5 current sergeants get to enjoy. 3 of the 5 current sergeants only get 1 weekend off a month. And when somebody goes off and they start covering overtime shifts, sometimes they have no weekends off a month because of covering those overtime shifts. So I'm looking at it being a benefit that they get fixed shifts. I would still maintain one of those positions as a swing shift possibility in the event that somebody would go out sick, that by maintaining the ability to swing one of those positions, if absolutely necessary, we could help to make it fit within our payroll that's budgeted.
I think Chief Kemp did an excellent job explaining the rest of that. The fact that it gives a better quality of life and better scheduling abilities for Chief Kemp, I make a motion that we move this to council for next week.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to street and alleys, this is my committee. So this is, we're discussing Monticello Phase 8, the plat there. This left the Planning Commission on February 9th. It involves, I think it was 12.97 acres and 15 lots. Was discussed in the Planning Commission, was moved out very easily. Marty, Patrick, would you like to make any comments on this?
That fairly well covers it. The improvements, the required improvements that is have been completed. This was a project where, as it came to Planning Commission, there was an additional fire access road incorporated. They have incorporated that fire access road. The gate has been installed. I think it's worth pointing out that staff was certain to make sure that that gate was installed prior to construction to help mitigate any traffic from the construction as it progressed through the neighborhood. So seems to be a reasonable middle ground to provide the fire access for the community. And that's about all I have to covers it.
Yeah, I walk it every day. Looks great.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, the whole area is coming along really well. It's very helpful and everything. And I think both neighbors seem very pleased with it. And no one has mentioned it. We've had meetings throughout the community and no one, it's all fine.
Excellent.
Okay. I'll make a motion to move this out of committee.
Revolt second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to water, sewer, and rubbish. Jamie.
All right, well, we have previously talked about the source water protection area, which was something we brought forth to protect our water wells we have here in the city. So this is just moving on to the next step where we are actually going to be presenting the attached map. Mr. Diore, do you have anything you'd like to tell us about this?
Certainly. This has been a project a year in the making since we engaged a consultant to help us put this together. And consultant familiar with our water systems. And with that, we were able to map out the areas that are within a 1-year time of travel, a 3-year time of travel, a 5-year time of travel. You can look at the map up there from our water sources, where we get our water from. So we have wells in all different kinds of places. And we look at how the subsurface water flows to those. When you use a well, you're drawing water out of the ground and it acts like a vacuum. It sucks. And so all the water that's underneath in the surrounding area starts drawing towards the well, which then causes other water to fill that space. So the intent here is to be mindful of what business operations are going to be operating within those zones of those times of travel. And so it's important that we have this map, and much of this will encompass areas of Jackson Township and Lake Township and Plain Township. The city of Canton will be doing this as well, and their map will be different than our map. So in order for us to take advantage of the changes in the Ohio Revised Code that give the municipalities that make water the authority to limit the uses on lands that are within that time travel, we have to adopt the SWIP, and with that we have to have the maps. So as soon as this goes into effect for us, then we will be engaging with our neighbors to share with them and encourage them at their zoning boards to adopt our plan and put them in a position where they're partner with us on protecting our water.
Okay. All right, fantastic. Does anybody have any questions or comments? So I will move that we recommend the proposed amendment to the Planning Commission for their review and be entertaining a second.
Revolt second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We have a second step with this, so I would also move that we postpone until Planning Commission has made a recommendation, or 15 days, whichever occurs first. So,
Is that a motion?
yeah, that's a motion. Maybe second.
Revolt second.
All right. Motion and a second. Do we have, I guess, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any opposed? All right.
I have a technical question. In our packet, we have for consideration under street alley, the Woodside Avenue parcel.
I
I don't
can
have it
speak
on
to
our
that.
agenda. Are we gonna move forward with that tonight?
That was from the Thursday draft agenda, and as I noted then, if we did not receive everything from the applicants
Okay.
by the deadline, and we did not receive
Okay,
everything.
very good. Thank you.
And it should be noted that Mr. Young, Mr. Van Gundy, Mr. Graham, myself, have all, for a period of weeks, encouraged the developer to get the information to us ad nauseum, but to no avail, so we pulled it from the agenda.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Noted.
duly noted.
Any new business or further comments on anything tonight? All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
We'll vote moves, and we'll vote seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
And look at this. Rob with his fancy pen.
That was yours, I took it out of your drawer. I forgot one, that's why I gave it back.
Have you ever heard of WT? How? You don't even know. Okay.
Hi there.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.